older version of me. She does not like pictures.
Hello everyone, this is Dee, Divine Feminine 101. Welcome back to another week. It's great to be back. So today I'm just going to get into it very quickly. We're going to be talking about karma. I'm sure you've all heard of that term, karma is a bitch, right? Okay, so yeah, today we're going to be talking about karma and how it affects your life. So in my explanation, I would say karma is a mirroring effect. I mean, it gives back to you whatever it is you put in front of it. For instance, if you stand in front of a camera, it's going to give you back your exact reflection, right? Okay, so that's a very good way of looking at it. There are two very different religions that really talk about karma a lot. That would be Hinduism and Buddhism. However, okay, so Hinduism would describe karma as there's a reaction to every action, so it's based on your action. So if you do bad, you get bad. If you do good, you get good. However, Buddhism actually refers to karma as both intent and action, and I think I would agree more with the Buddhism side of it, because for instance, let me give you an example. Like for instance, someone owes me money. So two very different scenarios. Someone owes me money, and then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I've been asking her for a while and she hasn't given me my money back, so I'm going to go to her house with a crowbar, break all her windows, break her car, and bust into her house. If she says anything to me, I'll shoot her. Please don't shoot anyone. Anyway, so a second reaction would be that, okay, I'm just going to go to her house and ask her for my money, and then on getting there, things get out of hand, a gun is drawn, and shots were fired. Now, it seems like the same scenario, however, very, very different intent. One, I intended to do it. So Buddhism actually refers to karma as not just your action, but also your intent as well. I think like in the Bible, it was referred to as, I think with adultery or fornication, the Bible says it's not when a man actually commits the act. It's the intent. Like if a man looks at a woman with lustful eyes, or he commits adultery. So the Bible also agrees with intent. So I think a better way to look at karma would be to look at it as a feedback system that allows you to feel, or either physically or emotionally or mentally, exactly what it is you're putting out into the world. So if you're putting out good, I mean, it would give you good back in return. If you're putting out bad, it would give you that back in return. So I think that's a better way of actually looking at it, and then you can decide if you want to change whatever it is you're getting back from the universe, or if you want to remain the same. And we can understand this concept by the separation and the unity consciousness. I will explain that a lot in details in a minute, but I also wanted to explain something to you. So I have a little drawing here, and I hope everyone can see it. So first I have a circle. That's the circle of life. So what happens, I'm sure you've all heard about the circle of life, is if it starts from a middle point here, you were given birth to, and then you went through life, through death, right? Okay, so the second diagram is the scale of justice, which means this is a scale, so everything has to be balanced. Well, the scale of justice, it just means duality. There's two sides to everything. There has to be a balance in the universe. There's good and there's evil. There's right and there's wrong. There has to be balanced. Sorry, there has to be a balance in the universe. Okay, so the scale would look like this, which is the two halves. So if you break the circle of life in two, it has to be the two halves. So there's a bit of everything in everyone. There's a bit of good and evil, right and wrong, truths that some people believe, and lies, but there has to be a balance. There has to be duality. So however, for human beings, it would be a bit difficult. Being the law of karma is also whatever it sees you sow, you will reap, right? So because it's a natural law of the universe, it has to be balanced for us. So we're going to look at the last scale, and the last scale is actually, so one part is dipping, which is whatever it is you sow, then it will take time and you will reap it. So whatever it is you put in it, you will get back from it. So you can have two halves going this way. One has to go down, which is what you sow. The other one is when the seed ripens and it starts to grow. So okay, I just wanted to clear that up. So there are 3 phases of karma. The first phase is the unconscious stage. That would be the 3D consciousness. So what this means is, at this point, I have no clue. I don't even realize that whatever it is I sow, I will reap. I have no acknowledgement for God, really. I don't understand that there's anything called the wages of sin. I do as I please. And that is likened to the world we are today, the earth we are today. A lot of people just do things without so much of the thought of the consequences, So if people realize that there's a consequence for every action, and you can't just run after doing something bad, then run to church and pray about it, and that's it, it's all over. So that's the world we are today. So this stage is referred to as the unconscious stage. Well, I don't know anyway, I'm clueless. So the next phase is called the awakening. Now, this phase will actually help you understand the first phase, which is the 3D consciousness, because this stage is actually called the 5D consciousness. Okay, so what this means is, it's called an awakening stage. Some people metaphysics would refer to it as ascension stage. New religion would refer to it as opening of the third eye. I know a lot of people have heard about that. So, and then Christians would actually refer to it as being born again. Now, anyone that understands awakening and born again and the way it is and the way people compare, a lot of people will say, well, no, it's not true. It's not the same, because I know a lot of born agains and they're still in 3D dimension or whatever. Okay, so let me put it this way: that anybody that's ever experienced true awakening would understand why why it is lacking to Christianity, and that's being a true born again. Because you see, it's not a physical thing, it's a soul thing. It's on a soul level, it's on the inside. Well, I mean, apart from being like the Pharisees and Sadducees and all the people that like to see proof about everything, what happens is that in the 3D consciousness, in today's world, in today's society, what happens is a lot of people, when they're born again, you see, what they want to do is tie their scarves to cover their ears, wear tops that, like, the men will probably wear trousers like up to here, and like a little torn shirt, shoes going south, so people believe that once you see someone looking like that, that means that means you're born again. Or even if you have nothing to do with spirituality and it's just a normal, when people want to announce that, yes, I'm a big girl now, a big boy now, you see people in like Gucci hat, Gucci sunglasses, Gucci earrings, Gucci shirt, Gucci bag, Gucci shoes, Gucci, and then they appear in front of you. I'm like, can't you see I've arrived? No, I can't. What I see is a Gucci logo. You're a walking billboard. So, so that's what it is. So with the 3D consciousness, people want to see proof of everything. Do you understand? With a 5D consciousness, however, it's quite different. It's on a soul level. What it means is, once you've awakened, what actually happens is that you almost unlearn everything you've ever believed. It's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing. You unlearn everything you've ever believed. When the Bible says do not be unequally yoked, that's what it actually means. Because if you're a husband or a wife and you've awakened, or you're now born again, or third eye open, or whatever it is, and you're married to somebody that is not, it's almost like two different people living on different planets. You see the world differently, you react to everything differently, because you have a deeper and a deeper understanding of what the world is about. You have a balanced knowledge of the physical, and the spiritual is quite different. People that really experience this, they don't even want you to know. They want to look like the everyday normal people. They want to look like, so, but it's kind of difficult, because what happens in that phase is you tend to lose a lot of friends, because you start to vibe differently. This is where you are on higher vibrations. So being born again is actually being on higher vibrations, because then you're doing certain things. You know that you have to love your neighbor as yourself. You know all those things because you're awakened. And then by the time you're on learning everything, it's like actually being born again in the literal sense, if that makes any sense. So it's you everything is new. You start to see the world differently. The best way I can actually explain this is, imagine, okay, if you're traveling interstate. I'm in Nigeria, by the way. So if you're traveling interstate, well, maybe within Lagos to Abuja, or if you're maybe in the United States, maybe from Miami to New York or something, from the UK. So anyway, if you're traveling interstate, you're still within the same country. Sometimes you can actually board a flight, or you can drive. Now the difference is that if you drive, it will take you about 7 hours. If you board a flight, it will take you like 45 minutes, an hour. The difference now is with 3D and 5D is with if you drive, you are at risk of potholes, you are at risk of road rage accidents, you are at risk of kidnappers, armed robbers. So there's so many distractions, there's so many attacks, there's so many things coming at you at once, so you're concentrating on the road, so you don't miss your way. You're having to fight off careless drivers, so there's no accident. You're having to do also, there's so much distractions. Now if you're boarding a flight, it's a totally different level. What happens is that you're probably even looking down from up. When the Bible says, draw near to me and I'll draw near to you, God is not going to leave his throne to come down to meet you. You have to ascend. Being born again is ascension, because you start to look at things differently. I'm talking about the true ones, not the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the seers that need to see proof. So so when you ascend, you're closer to the vibrations of God. It's easier for you to get your point across. It's easier, and he speaks to you, even you understand when he's the one speaking to you more clearly, because now you are actually closer in terms of vibrations. So back to the airplane example. So if you board an airplane, first of all, you get there in shorter time, which means your prayers are answered like even quicker. You don't have to worry about the mess going on down. What happens is that, imagine your flight is taking off and it's not really speeding per se, and then you're looking down at the cars all tiny, and you can actually see better when two cars are about to collide. Why? Because you're looking up, you're looking down at what's going on, so you have a better view of what is going on down there. So all those, it's like dealing with minute problems. At that point, you've already ascended. You're dealing with new levels of stuff, but then you have better access. So I think that's another way of actually looking at being in the 5D consciousness and being in the 3D consciousness. At that point, you now start to know that everything is connected. We are all connected. We are one. We are the world. I am that person, and that person is me. We're connected via the earth. That's from dust we came, to dust we will return. So at that point, we're all connected via the earth. So I can't afford to do something bad to you, because if I do it to you, I'm literally doing it to myself. That's why there has to be a mirror effect, so that I can feel whatever it is I have done to another person. So I mean, that's how it works. At that point, in the biblical way of looking at it is, we're in the world but not of this world. If the plane is taking off and the car is driving, it's still within the same country, but the plane is not of the lower world, if that makes any sense. Okay, so the third phase of karma would be the self-consciousness. Now, the only people that have ever had to attain this level would be maybe Jesus Christ. And the way to look at it is, did Jesus Christ need karma? No, he didn't. He was so self-aware and so connected to everything that he could not even do bad to the next person, or even think it as an intent, because of he understood the connection, and he understood the source, and he understood that everything was everything is connected. So I mean, if you're not of the Christian faith, I apologize. I've been mentioning Bible and Jesus. So if you're Muslim, I would think that would be Prophet Muhammad. You know, did he need karma because he walked righteously with God? If you're not of any faith or you're Buddhist, did Buddha need karma? No, because there would be a direct source of high vibrations of pure love. So for me, I don't see races or people or religions. I see people. I just see people. I think the higher your vibration, the better for me. It doesn't really matter who or what you are. So, or who you serve is important if you have high vibration, which is the ultimate source, which is God. So I tend to just see people, not so much religion. I don't box myself in that way. If you're of high vibration, you're of high vibration. You're a good person and you intend good for other people. So let's go on to the truths about karma. So the first truth about karma is karma isn't necessary. Now, I explained this before. As you ascend, the less karma that you actually create for yourself, or the less karma that comes onto you. As we go further into the explanation, you would understand why this is. Okay, so the next, I'm trying to rush through this very quickly. I think I've taken up a lot of time and I don't want it to be too long. Okay, so the next truth about karma is that karma is speeding up. I mean, the universe is shifting more into the 5D consciousness, and I'll explain what that means. I mean, back in the days, karma used to take a lot longer, and this is the reason why. Because in the olden days, back in the days, they believed more in tradition. So this was the unconscious stage, really. You know, they were. It was all about tradition. They were clueless. You know, so it might be that, okay, to make atonement for the land, you have to kill 500 virgins or whatever it is. I mean, they didn't know it was the belief system then. So what would have happened is, you know, because karma was so slow, so they would have had to, because at that point they were so clueless, they have to go through the process of understanding that these are just religions. They have to go through the process of learning. So it's a long process that they might not receive karma in that lifetime. What may have happened is it would just spill onto their generations, you know. So I think the Bible actually says fourth generation, I think. Personally, I tend to believe that karma stops at fourth generation, maybe going by the biblical way. So that it stops at fourth generation. At that point, I think life will become so cruel that you have to awaken and you have to clear your karma. You have to pray about it, or clear that karma. So anyway, so I mean, it used to take so much longer. But as we evolve and as we become more aware of our actions and the reactions we should be getting back for our actions, I think karma is beginning to speed up a lot more. You know, because think about it. It's like a student with disability would take a lot longer to learn as opposed to a student with an IQ of a plant feed. So that student will learn like really, really quickly. So I mean, you know, so I think back then the karma would take so much longer, and then it would spill onto children and grandchildren and the fourth generation to come. So I think sometimes it's really good when we look into our ancestral lineage, like what our grandparents did, who they were, you know, what they worshipped, or I mean, that way you know if there's some kind of karmic debt to pay, or well, anyway. So the next phase is the next truth about karma is that karma isn't just about you. So I mean, karma is a complex feedback system. You know, it branches out. It branches out onto other people. Sometimes even people that don't even that have nothing to do with the karma. And I'll explain it. So we have to take responsibility for our actions and our deeds and our intentions, because karma just doesn't cover the action, it actually covers the intention as well. So for instance, if a person, let's use Juliet, murders someone, you know, so what happens is that Juliet's children and grandchildren will carry that karmic template So what would happen is maybe karma. It depends on what Juliet has done. Like if it's a murder or something, and Juliet murdered maybe a 50-year-old woman. What is likely to happen is the children and grandchildren carrying that karmic template. They would just notice that in some families, people die at men or women die at 50. Or whatever, or at a certain age before they're 50, all the men tend to die before that age, or something to that effect is usually what happens. So it can be a bit of a bit of a long one. So one has to be very, very careful and take responsibility, for their deeds and their actions. Sorry about that. So then again, the bigger the karma, the more is it spills onto generations. And the thing is, even a country can have karma. And what will happen is all the citizens of the karmic of the country would actually carry some sort of karmic load. For instance, there was something I read about. I listened to about. I watched. About Portugal. So Portugal, I think, used to got the first colonial power. So what they did was spread out onto different places. Went into slavery, was taking slaves, and so for the longest time, Portuguese people had colonial karmic loads to carry for the longest time, but they started to work on their land and heal that, I think, from what I watched. There's also the United States, which was built on slavery. So, we all know that is still trickling down and still taking effect till today. So then again, one can actually even share in karma as well. So imagine, for instance, how let's use Juliet is Nigerian, and then she lives in the UK, for instance, and then, or maybe she lives in Nigeria and wants to go to UK to study in school, and she used to do so well in Nigeria, but then she got to the UK and her grades went low. Every business she dabbled in was went south, or everywhere she worked, she lost the job or whatever it is. What had happened is Juliet is not the problem. She went to share in the karmic debt of that area. Or how somebody moves into a house and maybe moves in with 3 cars and a brilliant job and a beautiful house and a beautiful fat bank account or whatever it is, and then they get to that house and they lose everything. So that house or the land which the house is built on may have karmic load on it. Maybe somebody was buried on the land or something a long time ago and nobody even knows about it. So anybody that moves into the house will actually share out of that karmic debt. One also has to be careful with the people you bring into your space sometimes. How somebody would say, oh, I was dating that man and everything started to go bad, or I was dating that lady and everything started to go bad. So sometimes you bring people into your home or bring them into your personal space and you would notice that things start to spiral down. Sometimes you're sharing in the person's karmic load, and please keep in mind, it's not every time something bad happens that it's karma. The law of karma is one of the many laws of the universe. So this is just sometimes something bad just happens. So the next truth about karma is that karma is in punishment. It's just a feedback to whatever it is you're putting out in the world. So you can have good karma or bad karma. If you put love out, you get love in return. If you put evil out, you get evil back in return. So it's not punishment. For instance, somebody hurts you. You can just sit down and think, oh, I wish something bad happened to this person. Everybody does it. It happens to everyone. But you should not even think it, because it's an intent. And what you're doing in that case, imagine maybe somebody does something bad to you, like maybe steals your partner or something. You're like, oh, I wish they would break up and their marriage would break and everything just cut out this. So what you're creating for yourself in that instance is you're creating karma for yourself. So you get to a point when you know that even when people trigger you to do certain things, you just have to hold back, because maybe they are actually at that point in time they will trigger you so that you can actually create karma for yourself. Maybe because you still have some sort of karmic debt to settle or whatever it is. I'm not saying that's what usually the situation, but I'm just explaining in terms of karma. So so don't even think the evil. Don't even think it. Because you're actually creating karma for yourself. So I think. The Bible says run from the appearance of evil, not even the evil itself, just run from the appearance. So that I've come to realize that most things in the Bible is just really looking out for us. So if you really think about it in a deeper sense of it, it's really looking out for us. So it just says run from the appearance of evil, because at that point you're actually, even if you participate, you're creating karma for yourself. So and then the last truth about karma is that karma isn't compulsory. Like I've said before, as you awaken, as you become born again, as your third eye opens, depending on what religion your faith, depending on your faith, as you become born again, as you awaken, as your third eye opens, as you ascend, the less karma you are likely to the less karma that comes to you. Why? Because at that point you would know you cannot even, because whatever it is you do to the next person, you have actually done to yourself. So you have a deeper and a better understanding. So and then you can actually heal past karma up to 1,000 years. Yes, you can. But this bonus, so to speak, is only available to people of 5D consciousness, which is the born agains, the awakened people, the ascended people. So except you are at that level, because, and I'll explain, at that level, you have a different sort of understanding. So anyway, I'll explain why to you in a minute. So as a Christian, if you're of the Christian faith, I don't know about the other religions, so please bear with me. I keep using Christianity as my yardstick. So so what you do, you call on God in the name of Jesus, which is what Christianity believes it is. You do this not on your own, but through deliverance prayers or clearing prayers. So you have to go to a worship center that actually offers those kind of services. Why? Is because they're deep. I mean, there's a system to the prayers. There's a way it's arranged, or there's a system. It's in a systematic way. So I mean, each day of the week you take on different versions, so that you cover and clear everything. And if you're not of any faith at all, there's a Hawaiian prayer called the Ho'oponopono. I think Ho'oponopono, yeah, I think it's an Hawaiian prayer that consists of 4 different parts, which is I love you. And in Christianity, it will be, so I would liken that to Christian prayer as well, so you know that it's all one, really. So Christian prayer would be acknowledging God, worship, that's showing love to God. You worship and everything. So in Ho'oponopono, it's I love you. The next one is I'm sorry. So in Christian prayers, this is when you ask for mercy. So you start to ask for mercy, and which is the way it's supposed to go. So the next one is please forgive. So that's forgive me and forgive my ancestors. So in Christian prayer, that would be you've asked for mercy, you're asking for forgiveness, and then you list each one of your sins you can remember that can hinder your prayers. And then you also tell God, through Jesus Christ, to forgive the sins of your ancestors as well. So the final prayer is thank you. So this is when you give thanks. Maybe at the end of the deliverance prayers, which could last for like a week, it could last for a month, depending on whatever it is you've been assigned to do. So the last part is to give thanks. Like I said, it's only available after you genuinely give your life to Christ. And it's like I said, it's a soul level. It's not a physical thing. It's not the way you dress. It's not what happens at that point is that you tend to lose interest in a lot of things. You tend to have a deeper and a better understanding of both the physical and spirituality. It's like a totally different experience, so to speak. Otherwise, if you don't clear that, what would happen is generation after generation, it would keep playing out. Maybe at a certain time, or for instance, if let's use a Juliet. Okay, so Juliet's grandmother was like very beautiful and had a very, very devoted partner, a man that loved her and was totally devoted to her. However, Juliet's mother, the way she paid him back for his devotion was to run tricks on him, sleep around, even put stuff in his food and just harm him in every emotional, physical, psychological way possible, so just harm him to almost to the point of death or whatever it is. What would happen in that situation is that Juliet's mother, so she gives birth to a female daughter or male, whatever it is, let's just say female. So Juliet's mother would probably have a very difficult marriage where her husband would be extremely hostile towards her. Why? Because she's paying the karmic debt of what her grandmother did to her spouse. So what would happen in that situation is Juliet's mother would now give birth to Juliet, who may not even get married at all, and every relationship becomes like a narcissistic relationship where it's your life on the line all the time. You're messed up, you're confused all the time and everything. So that would happen to Juliet. Juliet may have a daughter that maybe out of wedlock or whatever it is, have a daughter that will carry an even worse. The situation will be so much worse. Being the fourth generation, it might just get so clogged up that she would either awaken by force or awaken through spiritual awakening, but she would have to, her situation in life would be so bad that she would have to literally run into a deliverance center and try to clear that karma, but it would only be available to her as an awakened person. So also keep in mind, please, that it's not every time something bad happens that it is karma. Sometimes bad things just happen. Do have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful